Good evening. Welcome to the November 13th, 2024 meeting of the Human Resources and Compensation Committee. I will call the meeting to order. And I just wanted to note for the record that Mr. Borowski is excused for the evening. Has the meeting been properly posted? Yes. Thank you. We are now at the section of our meeting where there is an opportunity for citizens to speak. Do we have anyone that would like to address the committee? Okay. I see we have no one waiting to address the committee and no correspondence, so we'll move on to the action items for approval. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the October 9th, 2024 Human Resources and Compensation meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, and I'll second that. It has been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes from the October 9th, 2024 HR and Compensation Committee meeting. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Say no. Okay, motion passes 2-0. Okay, next we have the resignations and retirements. We have 2 retirements for approval on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
And I'll second that. It has been moved and seconded that we approve the retirements as presented. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Okay, motion passes 2-0. Next, we have the leaves of absence and leave modifications. There are no leave requests this evening. And there are no new contracts or contract modifications on the consent agenda for approval this evening. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the 2025-2026 school calendar. We reviewed the calendar at the committee and board level in October. Do I have a motion to approve the 25-26 calendar as presented?
Have there been any modifications to this since last?
Since the last draft, yes.
Okay. Could you perhaps?
I would, do I have a motion to approve before discussion?
I think it might be better to discuss first. That would give this meeting the opportunity to describe the changes.
Sure.
Because I think once we're into discussion and debate, that's, I think you and I.
Okay.
So the changes from the last draft to this draft include moving the quarter days. I moved them back 2 days, both first quarter and third quarter, and that was so we could balance the quarters to be equal. That's important for the middle school since they do have some classes that run quarter. And the other main change you'll see is we moved the final exam day back a week, and that again is to balance the semesters so they are more equal.
So I would move to approve the calendar as presented this evening.
Okay, and I'll second that. Is there any further discussion? At the committee level?
So it's my understanding that there are potential issues regardless of how we construct the calendar. And Ms. Phoebe, please correct me if I misstate this. So with the calendar is currently constructed, by moving finals back, it will result in we'll still maintain Martin Luther King Jr. as a holiday and a day off for students and staff, correct?
Just for students.
Just for
Staff
students.
will work that day, correct?
Okay. But it will result in, I think traditionally that day has been used by staff as a records day for, getting caught up with everything that needs to go in for end of semester, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and so that day now no longer exists on the calendar as a day for the staff to actually use that as it is traditionally been used, is that correct?
Correct. It is now at the beginning of the week of exam week instead of what would normally be the following Monday, which would be the end of exam week. So to prepare for second semester, this mostly impacts high school. They could do so on that Monday that they do have time to prepare and catch up even on quarter grades.
Right. And my understanding is the other two options we have are to leave the end of the semester where they're at, and that creates a situation where we have the first semester being 10 days shorter than the second semester, correct?
Exactly.
Which results in it being next to impossible for instructional staff to get all the material in the first semester that they have lesson planned out as required to get in. The other alternative, as I understand it, would be to have students in class on Martin Luther King on the 19th and make the 26th the day off instead in January.
Exactly.
And I think we all agree that there is downsides to all of those. It just depends on which stakeholder group you're looking at, right? I believe that the community has expressed that they very much appreciate Martin Luther King Junior Day being observed and the students not being in school on that day, so they can, honor his memory and celebrate his accomplishments as they wish. The other alternative, which is the unbalanced semesters, at least for me, seems untenable, given that our primary responsibility here is to make sure our students get all the instructional times they can in a semester, right? And if one is unbalanced, then those that are taking that coursework in the first semester aren't getting the same instruction that someone who took the same courses in the second semester would get, right?
Yes.
And then the other stakeholder group that would be impacted would be staff who loses a day to do the record keeping. So so I'm going to ask. So Mrs. Koenig, you spent time, obviously, a long time in instruction. Obviously, not as a high school teacher, but in the middle schools.
Right, exactly.
Where would you come down on that loss of the record keeping time that is essentially lost or has previously been set aside specifically for that purpose?
Right, well, I think this issue does have several angles. You mentioned, I agree with you, what you had already previously shared. We have a holiday that has been recognized, in our district since 2018. And to take that away or to reverse that now, in my opinion, does not send the right message at all, for a reason for doing so. Another angle you had brought up was the fact that the first semester was going to be 10 days shorter. I know as a former teacher, to suddenly move up a date 10 days, prior to when you thought you would have to present instruction and lessons, to suddenly take 10 instructional days away from that would definitely, I feel, as a teacher, would hinder my best performance, and as a student, to be able to not allow them the amount of time that they need to complete, their studies for that semester course and not feel rushed.
Right. I guess that was where I was going to ask next is,
right.
I mean, is it even practical to think that a teacher could accelerate their lessons in such a way that they could make up 10 days in a semester? That seems like a stretch to me, but
I'm sure some teachers, masterful teachers could do that, but however, I always look at what's best for the students, and I don't think it would be beneficial for the students to have to, consolidate, bring together multiple lessons in an effort to get through the course, because I know that's not in their best interest. It would be, in my opinion, not best for them. And then was there a conversation or a comment made somewhere that if the teachers do lose that day of grading and instruct, ability to work on records, is there another option somewhere along the line that they could recover that? Could we move the date back of when grades were due? I mean, are there options we could accommodate for the teachers?
Yeah, so with this change, since they have sort of front-loaded work time instead of work time at the end, we will extend the time that we give them for when grades are actually due. So that way they have more time than even throughout that next week if they still need to catch up on grading.
Okay.
Okay, so that's definitely an option if they're feeling that they don't have the time, they're feeling rushed, they're losing that day of records to be able to do that. There are options put in place for that. Yeah, this is a difficult position to be in, but again, I think we need to consider what's best for the students and even what is an expectation within the community of recognizing that day as a holiday.
So does the calendar go to the full board for approval, or would it be included in the consent agenda if we approved it through?
Consent agenda.
The calendar will go to
Oh,
the full.
right,
full
and I
board.
bring that.
I feel like, especially with just two of us here tonight, I'm inclined to approve either way, but I do think this would maybe be a good discussion
Mhm.
for the full board too, and for those who may, in the public who either come to the meeting or watch on TV, be able to see the discussion on that. I think it's important. So,
Right.
so yeah, I'm good. I just want to make sure that I have full understanding of the calendar issues and that
Mhm.
we were clear as to what our options were and what the drawbacks of were. So.
I appreciate the thought and time that I know you put into this, Ms. Didi, trying to make this work. This is one of those situations where it won't make everyone happy all the way around, and it is a challenge. Sometimes things are a little bit out of our control to be able to navigate. So in the committee, we just need to pass it here
Right.
to bring it to the full board, but we will definitely be having a conversation, I'm
Right.
sure.
Yeah, and I think the challenge was, even if I didn't think this was the ideal calendar, if I were to vote against it, it wouldn't be approved here and we'd be back to the drawing board. And I think we want to get resolution to this one way or another, thing, the best placing. So, just, I guess, one last question. Have we encountered this situation since making Martin Luther King Jr. sort of holiday in the district? Is this the first time that we've found such an extreme imbalance in the semesters with where the days are?
So the prior solution was we then would give 2 Mondays off in January. So we did have this issue
Okay,
in years past, which is why people saw 2 Mondays in a row, of which we heard regularly from the community that after just having a break with the holidays, to have 2 Mondays off was difficult. That was our solution for several years.
Yeah.
And this is the first year that we still have MLK Day off because it worked. Like I said, they're not exact. And then we moved that other Monday later into the school year.
okay.
That makes sense why we haven't had this conversation in recent years. Okay, so I believe it was moved and seconded, correct? Okay, so after no further discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Okay, motion passes 2-0. Headed to the board. Do we have any recommendations for future meetings? Okay, seeing none. Thank you all for attending tonight. The meeting is adjourned.
Do you want to hit end?